Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Welcome to the live stream, everybody. Guys, so happy that you guys are here today. Right off the bat, I want to say that people have been putting in so much hard work. We have people actually volunteering time to help make clips and shorts. And I have decided that I had to step up my game as well. So, as you're going to see tonight, there have been a few layout changes. Things have been upgraded a little bit. As you can see right there is a little sneak peek. So I hope you enjoy it. Guys, we're not going to waste any time. Tonight, we are going to be talking about negative energy. We're going to be talking about negative energy in a few different aspects. Not the trolls on Twitter, no. We're going to be talking about negative energy with respect to reducing the ground state of an atom. We're going to talk about it in the context of Hal Puthoff. We're going to talk about it in the context of Randell Mills. So 0-point energy versus Hydrino theory and what the differences are so that we can better understand it. Before we do that, we're going to talk about quantum communication patent by Hal Puthoff. We didn't get a chance to finish the Hal Puthoff Joe Rogan interview last time, so I've taken some clips to make sure that I can't possibly be copyright strike this time, and I'm going to show those. The first thing I want to show, though, is something from the end of the Hal Puthoff interview. Where's that glare coming from? At the end of the Hal Puthoff interview, Hal Puthoff said this. Which one is it? This one?
Or less where these things are coming from, what their intentions were. They're really worried about the possibility of an adversary getting ahead of us.
Hold on. Sorry. Let me start that over. Let me go. Which one am I going to go to? Yeah, that one. Okay, here we go.
They couldn't care less where these things are coming from, what their intentions were. They're really worried about the possibility of an adversary getting ahead of us. So that was the driving force behind the whole program. Well, now having all these intervening years go by and, there hasn't been any obvious super breakthrough by adversaries, I think now is the time we could have a kind of a reconciliation process, make sure we don't put everybody in jail that had anything to do with covering this up, provide proper lanes to bring various aspects of information forward. And so that's what I and colleagues that I interact with are trying to do today.
Wow. Hal Puthoff just threw it all out there in that interview. I don't know. People ignored that part, but Hal Puthoff right there is saying that we've had this technology. We have given it to defense contractors. They can't reveal it because they would get sued. And he's trying to reveal the tech, not just him, but him and the whole group of woke disclosure. Their entire group, Lou Elizondo, Ross Coulthart, Chris Mellon, Gary Nolan, all those people, they are all just trying to figure out what they can reveal that will not damage national security. That's what you heard him say right there. They're trying to figure out what can we reveal that won't damage national security, and they want to make sure that nobody will be accountable for the crimes that they committed. Is that not a fair assessment of what he just said? I just changed the words. This is the anger translator. I can't even be the anger translator because I hate what I'm hearing so much. It's the antithesis of everything I stand for. So let me just be straight with everybody out there. There's going to be no fucking amnesty for the people that are teleporting airplanes and hiding physics from us. If you're out there and you know we can produce negative energy and you're just producing free energy out there and you're hiding that, there ain't going to be no amnesty. It's going to be the guillotine. So you should have passed that Schumer-Rounds amendment or whatever the hell it was. You should have passed that when you had a chance. Because my social media presence, which, not to brag, but, you know, we're kind of a big deal nowadays. Us in total, I mean. We're going to make sure there's no damn amnesty that gets passed. Our congressmen will not be voting for amnesty bills. Hell no. So, yeah. Have a sip. Tastes like justice. Tastes like a delicious glass of justice is what it tastes like. But now we know exactly where they stand. This is the thing. I have nothing against woke disclosure people. Even though they're woke disclosure and they're just trying to tell us that aliens are real and they're definitely doing damage control for the United States government, like no question that's what they're doing. I don't have anything personally against them. They're still at least trying to get some minimal amount of information to the public. I'm happy to talk to them anytime. In fact, they need our help right now. Woke disclosure, just like honestly, like they're probably looking at MH370X wondering like, how do we repeat what those guys are doing? Because it's just an embarrassment. I honestly feel bad for them. So we should do some collaborations. Ross Coulthart, Lou Elizondo. What is talking to me going to make their reputations go down anymore? It can't possibly hurt anymore, even from their perspective, right? I can think it can only help at this point. We can help get them attuned, per se, to the science. Okay, so no disclosure, or no disclosure. Probably not disclosure either, but definitely no amnesty. But now we know where they stand. They are never going to reveal cold fusion free energy. Now, they're in on the plan to hide all the energy shit from us. They were always in on the plan. They're just going to tell us aliens are real. And then, I don't know, they're going to try to figure out. Here's the problem. There is no way to just reveal some tiny sliver of the information. When it comes to the physics, the moment you reveal the sliver, negative energy, everything's going to cascade out. Everything. And Hal Puthoff's going to talk about it right here. So the next thing I want to jump into is the best part of the Joe Rogan Hal Puthoff interview. If you guys have not seen it, you need to watch it. In fact, the whole thing is great. I don't even like remote viewing stuff, and that was even compelling to me. I sat through all of it, no problem. And I learned a little bit more about the idea of the remote viewing stuff. The quantum communication thing, that's where the real meat and potatoes of the conversation was. So if you're not familiar, and I've reported on everything related to Hal Puthoff, including what I'm about to talk about, his patent. Hal Puthoff's patent was first published in 1993, I want to say, and it was first approved in 1998. 1998. I know that date's correct. And there was so much controversy online about it. Because Hal Puthoff is saying that we can transmit a potential through the ether. Through the ether. Without a carrier wave. No electromagnetic wave. And so all the scientists, all the academics are going, this is pseudoscience. That's not possible. Space is an empty vacuum. Sorry, space. They go, sorry, sweetie, space is an empty vacuum, actually. So they said that to Hal Puthoff. There was even a pretty prominent article you can find from like 1995 or 6 or something where like or maybe it was 98, where they were super enraged that the patent office approved his patent. So had all this drama 30 years ago about the patent, and now we live in an age where we have quantum computers and AI everywhere, and now Hal Puthoff's patent doesn't look crazy at all anymore. Now nobody's shitting on Hal Puthoff's patent. You can't find anybody who will, take a shot out of him anymore. So here's Hal Puthoff on Joe Rogan talking about the patent. And I don't think I've heard him ever say a lot of what he says right here. So listen very closely. And the reason why I'm telling you guys to listen closely is what we're doing and what I'm showing here that you're never going to get on mainstream media ever is I'm showing you these are the people that are hiding the secrets. And there's little bits of inside information that you can gain. And this is the reason why they don't go on Joe Rogan. I was shocked that Hal Puthoff went on Joe Rogan. Because for smart people that are knowledgeable about his stuff, they can learn information, read between the lines. He might let something slip that he hasn't said before on a previous public appearance. So let's listen.
Someone you know.
Okay, so which view? Let's go with... Should we go with this view? I want to try this one out.
John Paul DeGioia and I are in partnership to explore a new means of communication, quantum communications. And so I'm actually now, at this point, directly involved in a program to examine quantum communications. And so it turns out that whereas ordinary electromagnetic communications, can't get through barriers, metal door or whatever. Well, why is that? It's because the electromagnetic signal, when it gets to the metal door, the electric and magnetic field generate counteracting effects, and so the signal can't get through. So it turned out that some years ago, when I was digging around to try to find out how to explain unusual effects, I dug deeper into electromagnetism down into the quantum levels and recognized that there are some additional quantum processes where you could end up suppressing the electric and magnetic fields, but you would still have a quantum signal, which in principle could get through barriers.
So right there, he's talking about his patent, no question. And he's saying he's used these quantum principles. What does he mean by that? He means the Ehrenhoff-Bohm effect. He means the Lamb shift. He means the 0-point energy field. He's saying there are perturbations in the 0-point energy field that you can detect with the right equipment, but there's no electromagnetic carrier wave. Some of y'all are spoiling it right now, by the way. Thank you for the donation, but spoilers, chat. Don't ruin the big moment. We are the change. Thank you very much, guys. And Truth Teller 86, cover-up's always worse than the lie. You guys are all correct.
And so that would mean, okay, if that's the case, and you could communicate to submarines. So whereas the salt water is sufficiently conductive, then electromagnetic signal can't get down there and communicate. If you are able to pull out the electric and magnetic components, but you still have an underlying quantum aspect to it, you could get through. Or same thing with, spaceships. When our spaceships came back when the Apollo spaceships came back, once they started in our atmosphere and are surrounded by plasma, we had this period where there's no communication. Well, for the very reason that electromagnetic signals can't get through charged plasmas. But this quantum...
Sorry. Did he just say charged plasmas? I happen to know about some charged plasmas that might need a quantum communication device. If anybody's out there just handing them out, I don't know if quantum communication devices are just being handed out willy-nilly or what have you, but these there it was. I had it. These orbs right here could use a quantum communication device. So, because here's the thing, everybody asks me when we watch this, we go, how are they controlling these orbs that are flying around the plane? How do you control that? It's plasma. How are they communicating how is something communicating this plasma telling it what to do? Anything. It has to be a quantum communication system, just like Hal Puthoff's patent. Has to be. So when people are like, if anyone, no one actually ever asks me this, like, hey, Ashton, why are you saying Hal Puthoff's name on every podcast you go on? Why do you literally rip this dude out of the limelight and throw him into the mainstream media? I also literally direct messaged Joe Rogan and told him to have Hal Puthoff on as well. Not bragging, just saying. Why? Because this guy's a fucking spook, man. He's building teleportation technology. Clearly, he's building teleportation technology. He knows way too much. He's the father of zero-point energy in general. At least modern era zero-point energy, as far as I can tell. And he's got a quantum communication patent that's been approved 5 times. Let's listen to him talk more about it.
Aspect could.
What would you use to, how would you encode the information quantumly, and how would you project it? What kind of machinery would be involved in something like that?
Well, it turns out that the machinery to generate the signals would be very explicitly designed antenna structures that are put together in such a way as to prevent electromagnetic components from being transmitted. It's the detection part where the secret to the technology is, because it turns out that, okay, if electromagnetic signals aren't there, how are you going to detect such a signal? Because all of our detectors are, electromagnetic signal comes in and generates a current and whatever. Well, it turns out that these special kinds of signaling at the quantum level can only be detected by quantum devices. Quantum devices can detect these quantum communication signals even if there's no electric and magnetic effects associated with them. So that's what we're looking at. And so when I think about what areas does this have application for? Well, of course, it's got a lot of application for things like communication and under.
Okay, I was just gonna be very careful because I don't want to play that too long and get in trouble. Wow. So he says the secret isn't transmitting. We can transmit a quantum bleep. We can do that. Which makes me think, why is that not the secret? Is it because you know how to do that using like a scalar phase conjugated wave? I think the answer is yes. So they already know they can make a phase conjugated scalar wave, which is a perturbation without an electromagnetic signal. Just take 2 electromagnetic waves out of phase, different directions, that are exactly the same. They cancel out. You can actually just make a lens, a crystal lens that can do this. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I said this before, but I'm pretty sure that it was, this is going to be relevant. Listen closely. Robert M.L. Baker, in one of his papers that I read several, I don't remember which one, said that Ning Li, the Chinese American superconductor gravity lady, that she could make a superconductive lens that could produce a gravitational wave. Presumably, that's what you would do to produce your blip. The secret, he says, is receiving it. To me, it doesn't seem hard at all. Don't you use the exact same thing? So, okay, actually, now that I just literally okay, it just came to me, actually. So what they couldn't figure out was the Josephson junction side. They couldn't figure out the receiving side because they had the transmitting side figured out. Scalar wave. Tom Bearden. Phase conjugated wave. Same thing that Dutch Sense and all these guys have been talking about. The receiving side of it. How do you receive it? Because you're sending your bleep, but it's invisible. It's just invisible. Like, okay, what are you looking for? You have to be looking for a specific perturbation. So you have to put something there that's going to pick up the bleep. Okay. And that potentially needs to be inside of your plasma orb. Let's let them keep going. Wait, what? Hold on.
Conditions where you'd like to overcome shielding, but it may have something to do even with some of the consciousness stuff. Because ordinarily, when you hear about people trying to think, well, what about consciousness? Is it still just all molecules and neurons whirling around, or are there some additional fields? There are a couple of physicists, well, a physicist and
So I'm going to skip past this part, but I do want to say that the consciousness aspect of it is fucking obvious. Sorry, that's 2 F-bombs today. Sorry, kids that are out there. It's just obvious. To me, there's absolutely no question that thought is quantum, that our consciousness, that our bodies are antennas, and what's happening is our brains, our biological brains are tapped in to the quantum realm, if you want to think of it like that. And that's where consciousness is emerging from. It's like an emergent property that is happening from that biological process that we've tapped into that quantum effect. Because why? Because everything must have a physical basis. Our biology must have a physical basis in this reality. And if it, before anyone comes at me about God or what have you, it's no problem. God created our reality. Boom, problem solved. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. So now I want to show this next part, because this next part, I'm pretty sure he says it here. About here.
you look at this idea that, okay, instead of just saying quantum entanglement, that's how information you can get from here to there, maybe we can actually find out, okay, well, what's the mechanism, though? And so this is a whole new area. It turns out that I developed proof of principle for this sub-rosa quantum communication stuff on a classified contract back in the 90s, actually.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm just, this was the part when I was listening to it, I went, what did he just say? I developed proof of principle on a classified contract back in the 90s. One more time, Hal Puthoff.
Principle for this sub-rosa quantum communication stuff on a classified contract back in the 90s, actually.
30 years ago, his patent is a spin-off from a classified project. Hal Puthoff's quantum communication patent is a spin-off from a classified project. Booyah! Take it to the bank. Holy shit. Chat, I listened to it and I'm just reeling right now. Absolutely reeling. I got to let him finish because there's another clip I got to play. I can't stop thinking about it right now.
So I got proof of principle in that situation. However, you say, okay, well, if you got proof of principle.
You got proof of principle, right? So like, wait, you showed that it was possible. So you sold this shit to one of the defense contractors, right? If you got proof of principle, one of the defense contractors bought it. I'm trying to understand, like, I'm like freaking out here because I'm like, wait, what? You did it on a classified contract and it worked and you got proof of principle and you're trying to tell me you just let it go for 30 years? Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. No fucking way. Sorry. We're going to have a lot of F-bombs tonight. Children earmuffs. No way you just let it go. And then what? Then you're like, oh, I'm just going to go do science for NASA now in 1996 with the breakthrough physics propulsion laboratory. Bro, no way. What is actually going on? What is actually going on? Like, I think we're just uncovering who the people are who are just making the shit behind the scenes. And the crazy part is, Hal Puthoff could be building that. That could be Hal Puthoff's communication patent literally in the orbs. And Hal Puthoff wouldn't even know. He wouldn't even know. Do you get that? Like, this is why I'm trying to explain how the suppression works, why it's so important. And Hal Puthoff doesn't want to say. Hal Puthoff, let's just say hypothetically, I don't know this to be a fact. Imagine that he gets proof of concept and then Lockheed Martin rolls up and they say, we'll give you, I don't even know, how much money do you think, guys? $1 million a year? Does it take even more than that? Let's just say $5 million a year. $5 million a year, you give me the patent rights to your quantum communication device. We're going to just do whatever we want with it. They just take it. Now Hal Puthoff is super rich. He doesn't know what they're doing with it. He doesn't care. And then he can do his own stuff on the side related to it, just takes the money. He just can't infringe upon what he already gave them. He has to do something slightly different. But you can just change like the schematic of your microchip array around, and now it's a new thing. And that's probably what he was doing, why he like repatented it 5 times. So I think he has a little bit more. Hold on.
Well, then why aren't we using it? Why isn't it all over the place? Well, it turned out the quantum detectors were very, new kinds of circuitry, nothing ready for prime time. So I put that whole thing on the shelf, let it sit there for a while. And now, because of quantum computing, it turns out a lot of research effort is going to develop cryogenic circuitry near absolute zero to be used in quantum computing. So I said, okay, they got these Josephson junctions working, which is exactly what I want to use.
Guys, he said the magic word of the day, everybody. The magic live stream word. Josephson Junction. Holy schmolies, fam. Wow. Josephson Junction. I think it was like 3 weeks ago that I said, guys, there's something I haven't really talked about a lot, but it's like vitally important, and you've probably seen the clues on my streams. And I said, it's Josephson Junctions. Wow. Holy shit. Okay, keep going.
For my detection scheme. And so if I found time, I decided to take it off the shelf. So I approached JP and showed him what the potential was, not only in just communications, but maybe it has implications for, biological things or medical things or whatever because of this other work on microtubules. So he said, okay, well, let's go for it. So we have another major lab that is actually putting together circuitry for us that operates about 3.7 degrees above absolute zero. I mean, this is really quite a technical challenge.
Bro, what? He's talking about building microchips right here. Is he talking about the microchip operating at that level or producing the micro? I think he's talking about producing the microchip. That's what I think he's saying here, is that you have to be at like absolute zeros to produce the microchip.
Communications, but maybe it has implications for, biological things or medical things or whatever because of this other work on microtubules. So he said, okay, well, let's go for it. So we have another major lab that is actually putting together circuitry for us that operates about 3.7 degrees above absolute zero. I mean, this is really quite a technical challenge. But he and I are working in that together. He's my collaborator.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's all we need from this one. Wow. So he's making microchips, and he even says it's not just for communications. What are all the other things it can be used for? I've said it a million times. Medical healing aspects to this technology. Warp drives, wormholes, free energy, cold fusion. Pretty much Star Trek replicator, transmutation, invisibility, teleportation. Anything that you've seen in Star Trek becomes a reality with this type of technology. And it's all based on the same physics. So you might have one design that does one thing, but the same physics principles can do something very similar as well. I want to show you guys another video that I've shown this a couple times, and now I could only think about this video when I was watching that, and how crazy it is that I clipped this, and I can't stop thinking about it. I just can't stop thinking
demand, and also it came to light through conversations with Dave Rossi that there may also be other people wanting to work on Josephson Junction type communication equipment. For instance, Hal Puthoff's name came up as possibly working in this area. And so when we, for instance, approached Star Cryogenics with this notion, they said, I'm sorry, but we're already committed. People wanting to work that there may also be other people wanting to work on Josephson Junction type communication equipment. For instance, Hal Puthoff's name came up as possibly working in this area. And so when they're in great demand, and also it came to light through conversations with Dave Rossi that there may also be other people wanting to work on Josephson Junction type communication equipment. For instance, Hal Puthoff's name came up as possibly working in this area. And so when we, for instance, approached Star Cryogenics with this notion, they said, I'm sorry, but we're already committed
Cryogenics?
to another design team. So,
dude, his whole presentation was all about them building a microchip with Josephson junctions for quantum communications. And now Hal Puthoff is on Joe Rogan. That was like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. How long ago was that? Maybe 3 weeks ago. And that's Gary Stevenson. You guys are probably like, who the hell's Gary Stevenson? Well, when I was reading Robert M.L.'s gravity wave papers, I noticed somebody else's name on them. It was a guy named Gary Stevenson. So I look him up. He's been on APEC a bunch of times. There he is, right there. So this is a gravity wave communication system using Josephson junctions. And Hal Puthoff just explained exactly what it is. It's the receiving side. We already know how to transmit it. We need something that can receive the signal because it's just Morse code. It's actually simple. It's actually super simple. We're sitting on the 0-point energy. Well, these little ripples like this, we can create a ripple. And then we can just detect the ripple, just like Morse code. Just like Morse code. And then we can just create a signal. And now we can communicate. Field-free communication. Impossible to crack. Unless you have your own receiver, and then I guess you could intercept it. But that's a problem for another time. So, man, what is going on? So when people say, like, are you being used, Ashton? Sometimes I go, yeah, probably. I mean, all the time I go, yeah, probably. But you know what? For the people that wonder, like, oh, you're being used by the disclosure people. Well, who, if you looked at both sides right now, whose side would you say is winning? So if I'm being used, then they're being used right back. So my objective has always been straightforward. And if it's not clear, I'm going to get the U.S. government to admit what they did to MH370. Boom. Now, on the 0-point energy side, to get you guys up to speed on a couple other revelations, the Lamb shift doesn't just show 0-point energy exists. Lamb won the Nobel Prize for this Lamb shift. Lamb shift shows that we can do this. Bloop, bloop. That we can dip into the 0-point energy. Because it showed that the orbital of the electron in the hydrogen atom can be impacted. And this is why Hal Puthoff's first 0-point energy paper was the ground state of the hydrogen atom. I've never met Hal Puthoff, but I know this is the reason. Because he's saying we can basically create a trampoline effect using the 0-point energy. We can tap into the 0-point energy and it's going to bounce back. Like tap into it, bloop, moves back. Tap into it, bloop, moves back. We can do this, right? And that is the same exact thing that we are doing with our quantum communication device. And this is also negative energy. When you're creating this bloop, you are creating a negative energy event. Quantum entanglement is the idea that we are keeping momentum conserved. Whatever we disappear over here or reappearing over here, there's going to always be this equality. So then quantum sensing is basically just picking up perturbations in the ether, which we would refer to as gravitational ripples, like the ripples on the ocean of the energy. We don't see them, but they're there. And they can be detected with the right configurations, which would be a Josephson junction. So if you're not familiar with what a Josephson junction is, I've been yelling this out now, and you're probably wondering, what is this, Ashton? Superconductor? I used to say semiconductor. Let's just be real. Superconductor, insulator, superconductor. So the analogy is straightforward. You've got a freaking highway, a rapid speed train let's just say your train is a magnetic levitation train moving at Mach 3. And I got a wall right here, brick wall right here. You'd imagine nothing's getting through this wall. Boom. That's where quantum mechanics takes over. Quantum mechanics says, that's a wall? Nope. I'm going right through that bad boy. Quantum mechanics shows that some electrons, it appears as though they go through it. Now, how is this possible? How can parts of the train get through the wall? The answer is they're not. The electrons aren't going through the wall. What is actually happening? The ether itself is being disturbed. And when the ether itself is being disturbed, you are seeing a perturbation on the other side of the wall. Just like you would, because it's a wave. Imagine now it's not a train, it's just a wave. The wave's going to collapse around. It's going to go around your wall or through your wall very weakly, through the ether itself. Because your wall is not actually a perfect wall at all. And this is what happens. So you have a superconductor, a wall, insulator, and another superconductor. You send a direct current through it, a one-way current. And on the outside, what do you get on the output? One-way current comes through, goes through the wall, and a little bit gets through. You get alternating current on the other side. Whoa. Someone fact check me. I hope I'm saying the right thing there. I know that it transitions from one to the other. So, and I'm pretty sure I said that right. So what you're saying there is that you could set up this detection mechanism, this Josephson junction set up on some kind of microchip array. And you can just have it out there and it's just looking for signals. And you're just waiting to get the right phase match. And once you see the right phase match come through, boom. You've locked in, you've got your message. And now you're communicating. And now you have a direct connection back and forth permanently. Now, how is this all possible? Why am I sure that it's all just waves? There's no actual particle. That's how we have quantum tunneling. That's what they refer to it, quantum tunneling. Because they think the electrons are just teleporting through the wall. But that's not happening because we know that we're just in a medium of particles, medium of energy. And what's happening is there's a disturbance, a local disturbance in the medium is light. Light is a local disturbance in the medium. So we're not actually seeing electrons moving through the superconductor. You're seeing a disturbance in the medium. And so the medium's being disturbed, and when the medium's disturbed and you have a very thin insulator, some of the disturbance of the medium gets through the other side. And now we can use that to make Morse code. We can use that to make Morse code. We can use that to make a quantum communication device. So one last thing I want to say on this, I haven't addressed this a lot, but I'm going to address it now. Again, is that there's several reasons why I stopped doing the magnetic motor free energy thing. None of them were because it's not real. The main thing is that I realized that it was kind of a gimmick. Is that, yeah, free energy magnetic motors is like cool, I guess, but I realized pretty quickly going through it, there's a lot of challenges that I hadn't considered. And what's a lot cooler than a magnetic motor, which is basically just an antique at this point, is a free energy microchip. Free energy microchip. And I realized everybody's just making microchips. Well, why the hell are people worried about giant shit like this? No, microchips. And so that's what I want to end up doing. And I've said this before on stream, so it's not something that's brand new. And clearly now, after watching this right here, like no question, I want to know everything about microchips. I want to be building microchips. I want to figure out who's got the best lithography. That's what they call it, making the microchips. And I've already been researching it. And one last point I want to make is that I'm now speculating, highly speculative at this point, that the Freescale semiconductor engineers on MH370 was not just about some specific patent they had. What if they had a whole process for lithography that they were working on? Well, you could imagine, what if they had the whole next generation of microchip designs of production? The reason why I say this isn't entirely baseless is that the story, at least the cover story for why those guys were going to China, was to upgrade the plants in China. What do you mean upgrade the plants? Upgrade the lithography microchip plants? I can see why the US government wouldn't want that to happen. So, and then, so actually there is one last point on it, is that I said this on an X space, I think, but the thing we have to think about is that technology does not advance in a silo. Technology comes hand in hand in stepping stones with the tools, with the material science. So Hal Puthoff pointed this out beautifully. He said, I had to put this on the back burner for 30 years. Why? Why did Hal Puthoff have to put that on the back burner for 30 years? Because our lithography had not caught up yet publicly. We couldn't produce microchips publicly that were powerful enough to do that. But the defense contractors probably could. So publicly, there were not fab labs that could make those microchips. But how much do you want to bet 30 years ago, the defense contractors did have fab labs that could make microchips that were good? And what that would mean is that publicly, you couldn't produce the technology, but privately, they could. So now imagine a story. I'm just presenting a story here where Hal Puthoff works on a classified contract, shows proof of concept, sells the concept to Northrop Grumman. They have their own internal lithography that's more advanced than anything that's publicly commercially available. They make it and turn it into a quantum communication system that can communicate to some plasma orbs. And Hal Puthoff has no idea, or he probably has some idea, but he sits on it, just takes all the money. And now 30 years later, the lithography publicly is caught up. Now he figures, oh, well, now I can make money publicly selling these microchips as well, because now I can just get them made myself, and it's not millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment. Shit, man. Pictures starting to come into focus, chat. So last thing is, some people may say, well, what about the photon and the photoelectric effect? Watch my last live streams. Photoelectric effect, the photon is a lie. Photoelectric effect is real. It's not a particle. Light is not a particle. It's not a particle of wave packets. That's just, honestly, the more I think about it, the more stupid it sounds. You think light is a little packets of particles shooting around all the time? Hell no. It was always a wave. It was never a particle. And then the photoelectric effect is just explained by resonance. The reason why there's a stepwise pattern is because of resonance. It's not because of acting like a little particle. You gotta get your packets big enough. Make your packet the right size to interact with your thing. Come on, man. You know the funniest part? I think it was Max Planck that shit on Einstein and said that Einstein was a genius, except for his biggest mistake was the photon. And everybody now laughs because they go, well, the photon's the basis for quantum mechanics. Wait, is that true, chat? Is the photon the basis for quantum mechanics? Turns out, yes. Apparently, the whole basis for quantum mechanics does come from this idea of the photoelectric effect and Einstein's idea for packets, because that's why we came to this idea of, well, n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3. We unitized, quantized light. We turned light into a quantum of wave packets. And that's why we now have this quantum mechanical system. So does this mean that quantum mechanics is a lie? In a way, it is a lie. But in other ways, all the experiments that show quantum mechanics are also still true. So quantum mechanics is a lie, but it's also true at the same time. Oh, boy. And why is this relevant? Because the next discussion is Randell Mills. Wait, do I have the clip? I don't have it. So Randell Mills is a doctor, an actual doctor. He is like an MD doctor from Harvard. He's an MD from Harvard, and he has a bachelor's in chemistry. And in the 90s, Randall Mills decided that quantum mechanics is a lie and that it is possible to get negative energy states. I'm going to call them negative energy states. I don't know what he would call them that. I don't think he's ever actually called them negative energy states, but he says energy states below n equals 1. Now, in plain English, that means energy states below the ground state. Like that. Ooh. So now why was I so excited when I heard about this guy and read that? Because I went, that's the exact same thing we're saying about the Casimir cavities, 0-point energy, Hal Puthoff's patent. We're saying that there's energy states below n equals 1. So I wanted to know, Randall Mills, what are you all about? What are you all about? Where does this come from? What is the basis of this theory? And I had a few other questions as well. So I want to explore those questions with you guys in the context of Randall Mills. And hopefully at the end of this stream, you all will understand the various prominent theories around negative energy. Spoiler alert, there's not a lot. So if you've watched my content closely, you'll know on many streams, live streams, interviews, I say that when I researched the science, it wasn't like there was all these options for how teleportation is possible. There was like one 0-point energy. That was it. And so if I find something like this, where it's like, it sounds very similar to 0-point energy, I'm going, okay, maybe he found something we haven't found yet. And the reason why I got excited before I even dug into it was that his experiments are using non-equilibrium, non-thermal plasmas and producing ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet. And so I went and I checked, and sure enough, the MH370 videos are showing ultraviolet, extreme ultraviolet, or soft X-ray, and that just has to do with the wavelength that we're talking about. Wow. Let me hit some donuts. Filter Dog 1, thank you very much for the can. Gulp, gulp, gulp. That's a delicious drink. I would be really good at that, chat. I don't even know what that's called. Like LARPing IRL. Okay, let me hit a couple of these other donos. Julio, thank you very much. AI is the greatest place to work for. Is the Boogosphere orb from Colombia? We're actually going to talk about this. Maybe I'll just bring it up right now. Now's a great time, okay? A lot of people have wondered about metallic spheres and orbs. Metallic spheres and orbs. There may actually be a connection to the plasma orbs. It turns out that one of the things that we're going to see as one of the explanations on this science is metallicized hydrogen. So there's actually a possibility that you can create your atoms so densely in your plasma that it actually produces a metallic effect. I think the metals that we're seeing might be a situation where the plasma orbs have cooled and they cool down, and now you're just left with this hunk of metal. So when it was flying in the air, it wasn't a hunk of metal. It was like a liquefied Bose-Einstein condensate. But when it stops moving, if it breaks down, then all it comes down is a clump of metal. Just a theory I'm running with. And Matt gives the cookie. He says, did YouTube ever apologize? They did not. And Woke and Walk, thank you very much for the cookie. Delicious cookie. War Ranch, you're changing the world, bro. Thank you very much. You guys are the ones along for the ride and also helping to change it by being the ones who are bringing all the attention to it. Wow, huge donation. Holy crap, Gabriel. Thank you very much, Gabriel 54. I believe in what you're doing. How can I help you? Well, I mean, you did just help. Here's the reality, Gabriel. You gave a huge donation. I'm hugely appreciative of it, and this will go to a good cause for helping the investigation. I can guarantee you that. The reality is that we're not going to rush this thing. I think that I like League of Legends analogies because I used to be a jungler and I was disgusting, like, challenger level. And what I learned, one of the most important things I learned is that when you're winning, don't throw. Don't overextend. Don't throw when you're winning. Just think about what's at stake here. And think about the government's never going to admit the videos are real. They can't admit the videos are real. They can't admit what they did. So we're not in a rush. Why try to rush it? If we try to rush it, we're just going to make mistakes. We're going to get caught up in some discrediting campaign or what have you. We have to, at this point, we're winning and the momentum is on our side, hugely on our side. The other side's imploding, they're throwing, they're dying in the jungle to the Baron and shit like that, and we're just laughing at them. So the last thing we want to do is throw and all go YOLO and do whatever. At this time, we need a group together, we need a cohere, and we need to get back in the gym and hit the weights. In this case, learn the science. We need to get even better at the science, disseminate the knowledge about the science so that when people bring up, oh, the photoelectric effect, though, actually, sweetie, the photoelectric effect says that light is actually a packet of little particles. And you go, no, it's called resonance, sweetie. See? So there you go. That's the answer. We're slowly turning up the heat, and we're going to make it to a point where this all becomes self-evident. And then they don't even have to admit it because everybody already knows. And that's when they'll tell the truth. Thank you, War Ranch. You on fire. Bioquantum resistance. And then Levi, ZPF event was a Josephson junction. The ZPF is your insulator. Superconductors are the orbs. Yeah, I could see that being the thing. The insulator could just be the air as well. And so what's happening is when they get too close, then boom, just like lightning strike. I think that's what's going down. But that's a big part of the question, too, is that what's actually initiating the negative energy event? Well, let me write that down. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. And then Why on a Rider says, if the videos are fake, why do they go out of the way and put much easier stuff, eggs and stuff about the tech they don't want us to know about in the first place? They can't even release the Steve Irwin video. Yeah, thank you very much, Winona Riders, for the donation. And then lastly, Lockheed's rolling mask lithography. Oh, they actually have a thing. See, look at this. I didn't even know this, and it turns out they have some secret lithography, secret microchip shit. And this is the thing I'd say is that, like, a better thing about why the videos are real is if they were fake, we wouldn't keep finding all these coincidences everywhere where it's like, oh, turns out they must have some secret lithography. Oh, yes, they do. Turns out they do. Yep. It's like, oh, for the videos to be real, there must be some secret hidden science that's like accepted, but only in like black project circles and not like publicly. Oh, there is. There it is. 0 point energy. It's like, Jesus, man. Come on. Just like, this is why we are the tip of the spear when it comes to disclosure, everybody. Oh, man. I'm going to have to get something for that. Okay. So back to Randell Mills. Dr. Randell Mills got his medical degree from Harvard. I emailed him. He does not seem like a very, let's say, he wasn't very enthusiastic to talk to me. He did give me 2 answers to 2 questions that I needed. One, is it possible, or has he done any military contracts? I wanted to know. I'm trying to figure out who's making the orbs. So did Randell Mills and Brilliant Light Power do any military contracts? He said no. That's all I said. One word answer, no. My second question was, does he think that defense contractors could have figured out hydrinos? His answer, no. My analysis is that the defense contractors definitely figured it out. He probably just doesn't know that. But I'm less likely to believe that he's directly involved in the orbs. And also, I'm really curious to find out where the money is coming from for Brilliant Light Power. He's been getting financed for like 20 years or so. The other thing I want to say is that all of this goes back to 1989. 1989, that's when Randell Mills had his Hydrino breakthrough. I looked it up, by the way. That's a true story. 1989 is also the year Pons and Fleischmann came out with cold fusion breakthrough. 1989 was also the same time that Ken Shoulders and Hal Puthoff were working together on EVOs. And then the Pentagon made it one of the highest priorities for research. So there's a very clear convergence of all of these people discovering the same thing at the same time. Does that seem like a coincidence? Why did Pons and Fleischmann run to the media? And then there was also people that were doing other forms of cold fusion, like muon fusion and what have you. Why did Pons and Fleischmann run to the media? It feels like people knew something big was coming. They knew something big was coming, and they wanted to be the first one to get it out there so that they could claim to be the person who discovered it. That's kind of what it feels like. And Hal Puthoff's just sitting back going, nah, I'm good. I don't care about the public. Because what happened? You come out and then you get discredited. Okay. I have some AI stuff that I looked through, but I think I'm just going to give you the cliff notes instead. So I basically asked AI some questions about this. And one thing I want to point out as well, if you're wondering about my curtain, I cannot block that window. This is the worst time of year right now. I'm going to figure something out, though, for it. So I asked AI about this. Some of you may say, Ashton, like, you've been saying that don't ask AI what to think. Yes, I'm not asking AI what to think. What I ask AI is, explain hydrino theory to me. I ask it, tell me what numbers, how lithium could be related to the hydrino theory. So I'm not asking it how to tell me if hydrino theory is real or not. I don't care about that. If I did ask it that, it would say that it's not widely accepted and mainstream academics have discredited it. So that's not what I want to know. So hydrino theory is this idea there are stable orientations below equilibrium. So here's the main difference between hydrino theory and the other ones. Hydrino theory says that not only can we do this, but we can do this. Wait, what? You just lowered the water level? Yep. We can just lower it like that. And it stays stable like that. So this, I found out digging through it, is the main basis for why this is different than everything else, potentially, that's out there. And how is this pulled off? How are they actually doing this? That was my next question. How do they actually do that? And the answer was they must absorb energy. Or no, they must give energy to a catalyst. So in order for the energy to go like this, they're having a negative energy event. Normally, we would add energy to a region. So for it to go down like this, you need to give off some of your energy to something else. And so what the hydrino theory speculates is that you can actually do the math if you throw out basic quantum mechanics and just stick to fractions. You can actually do the math and find out the exact energy levels required to jump down a level. And then you can find out what exact energy level you need to match it. So the idea is simple. You say, okay, I want to drop down to N1/4 of the ground state. If I want to do that, I need 100. I think this is not exactly correct. 130 electron volts is what I need to be able to get. So if I want to do that, then I need the right chemical composition of helium or lithium combination chemical in order to produce that exact release of energy. That's what the hydrino theory says. So when anyone asks you, what's the hydrino theory? You're going to say the hydrino theory says that we can achieve these negative, and you use air quotes because he doesn't say negative, these lower than n=1 energy states, and that they're stable energy states. And in order to go down like this, you actually have to release an exact amount of matching energy to a catalyst. Yes, there's the answer right there. The answer is it must be in 27.2 EV increments. So this actually limits it significantly. If it must be in increments of this amount of energy, then you just have to figure out what releases an increment or a multiple of that amount of energy. So you just multiply this by whatever number you're trying to achieve. So then my next question to the AI was, what about lithium? And so the first answer I got back said that lithium was not a catalyst. And that the lithium ion, actually, so let's start with that. So that the lithium would not work out because there's no energy match that would work. But weirdly, when I was reading about Randall Mills' stuff, lithium gets mentioned as a catalyst. And I see JK Philly fans been triggered. I expected that. I was saying that just to trigger him. And so then JK Philly fan in the Discord threw this scientific paper that he found out. And so I had the AI read the scientific paper and reevaluate it. And basically the scientific paper says there's 3 types of not just sole lithium, but lithium, what is it, composites? Or I think it's composite. So it's not just lithium, but lithium mixed with other chemicals. So maybe someone found the exact right composition of lithium and some other chemical to produce the exact right EV discharge they need. Now, if that's the case, it could be possible that that's what was being used. So the AI doesn't know because the paper that JK Philly fan gave doesn't list the exact numbers for each type or whatever. But I did ask the AI if those chemical compositions of lithium, it's like lithium nickel or something like that, or lithium hydroxide, if those are in lithium ion batteries, and they are not. None of them are. So they're not in lithium ion batteries normally either. So here's the takeaway. If you want to know what does that all mean, is that the lithium ion batteries, in theory, could be being used as a catalyst for the orbs to cause the phase transition that we see there. Could be. I think it's unlikely because of the fact that the specific compounds in that one paper don't appear to be naturally in lithium-ion batteries. However, as we learned from the Hamas-Israel incident with the pagers, they can infiltrate the supply lines. So if the batteries were planted on the plane, they could have been tampered with so that they do have exactly in them what they need to have in them for the transition. So this one stays a mystery, guys. I can't say either way. What I can say is it does seem possible that the lithium-ion batteries were more than just a diversion, more than just setting a fire. It does seem possible lithium-ion batteries could be directly involved in the energy transfer process. Kind of cool. Let's take a quick look at the AI conversation. I just want to run through it, make sure I didn't miss any big points. And I just want to show you that I'm talking about a real conversation that happened. I mean, let's do this. Here we go. History. Hydrino. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go with, that's actually not bad. Let's do it like this. Okay, so starting at the beginning, here's the Randall Mills conversation, and this is him explaining all of the electron volts that have to be multiples of 27.2. And then, of course, the controversies say nobody likes it. Nobody likes him, you know, blah, blah, blah. He's mean to me. He says quantum mechanics isn't real, blah, 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 normal academic garbage. And then what states could be achieved by using lithium as a catalyst. And then down here on the conclusions, it says that there really isn't any situation. No hydrino states can be reliably achieved using lithium. And then here's actually the biggest part. So I didn't talk about this, so let's hit this part. I asked it, what other theories exist similar to hydrino theory, where hydrogen can enter a lower ground state, releasing non-radiative energy? So what did I do with my question? I gave it the very specific conditions I wanted to answer for me. So this is important because I know the context of the question. I know what kind of answer to expect. I only want to know what theories are out there that can release an ultraviolet burst of light, because that's what we're seeing in the videos. So how many answers are there? There's only 5. There's only 5 answers. And the first one here, this subquantum kinetics, basically sounds like 0-point energy with extra steps. This is basically just 0-point energy with extra steps. And I had never heard of it before, so I think this one's obsolete, whatever this one is. So the next one is, well, 0-point energy. Next one's 0-point energy and Casimir effect right there. So it turns out that one of the only other similar theories is 0-point energy. Casimir effect is showing a negative energy state. So by changing the energy state of the vacuum, you also cause your negative energy state, which, again, this is a repetition of what we already know, because this is what we're saying. Boom, we're doing this. Okay. Differences. ZPE model works within quantum mechanics. So here's probably the biggest benefit, right? We don't have to throw quantum mechanics out. This works perfectly within quantum mechanics as it is right now. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm kind of out on hydrino theory. I think 0-point energy better explains the phenomenon. The thing that I'm really interested in when it comes to hydrino theory is whether or not there are stable negative energy states, stable ones. That's something that I have not heard been discussed by Hal Puthoff or Eric W. Davis or any of these other people. So the question there is, if that's possible, that adds another dimension to the whole thing. Because maybe those orbs, maybe they are hydrinos. Maybe they are these negative energy states that are stabilized. Maybe that's what it is. So in one perspective, I say that the hydrino theory is incomplete relative to 0-point energy theory, but it does have very specific aspects of it that I think open the door to more stuff that 0-point energy hasn't really touched, which is the stabilization of the plasmas, which I think that the hydrino theory does a much better job of explaining. And then whether or not there are actual stabilized states below 0, below n equals 1. And that's what it says here. So, and then the other thing too is the catalytic transition. Do we need a catalyst or not? You know, early on in the investigation, a lot of people were saying the batteries must be a catalyst. And I always was against it. Now I'm going to say I'm more inclined to believe there's a catalyst, but 0-point energy does not require a catalyst to do it. Now, it does require something, but not a catalyst. So the next question is, what does it actually take to create the negative energy state? How do you actually polarize the vacuum? And this might be something Randell Mills doesn't know, or maybe he doesn't know the full mechanism of it. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. But for you out there, chat, who wants to throw a guess? I'm going to have a sip. My coffee's actually gone. I'm going to have a sip of my water. Go ahead, guys, and tell me, what is the 0-point energy mechanism by which we can produce a negative energy state with our vacuum? Chat, you're disappointing me, chat. High energy electromagnetic field generator by Salvatore Pais. High energy electromagnetic field generator, HEEMFG. Salvatore Pais showed us that the way where we produce this ripple is by producing a very intense burst of positive electromagnetic flux. That was at least the way we're seeing it happen in the videos. We're seeing this massive, what should be a massive release of energy. We're jamming these objects together, and then we see this flash happen, but instead it's just blipped out like it went through a mirror. Like we're in Fantasia or something. So if we see this blip out like that, we expect there to be this massive release of energy, but there's not. So what's the answer is that they're producing this powerful electromagnetic flux, and that's electrifying the vacuum and causing the permittivity to flip, creating a void, creating a black hole, I guess you could call it. So the way I visualize it's like this. Imagine this screen you're looking at here is filled with white noise everywhere. White noise, waves everywhere, right? Traveling around all throughout this. We have our orbs converge here, and for a split second, all of the waves are pushed out. They're all pushed out. All those random waves get pushed out of this region. What happens? What am I in? When all the electromagnetic waves get pushed out, all the 0 point energy gets pushed out because of this massive burst of energy that just causes this organization, this self-organization within this empty region. That's a black hole. This is why when you hear Salvatore Pais and them talk, or even Bob Greenier talk about this self-organization property that occurs, it's that this zap, this huge, massive burst of energy just causes like everything to move aside as if it's just self-organizing. So there you go. And now, look at this third one. Third similar theory is dense hydrogen and metallic hydrogen theories. The reason why I love asking AI questions like, what is similar to this? Because AI is going to look out there and it's going to look for things that are thematically similar. I did not expect to see dense hydrogen and metallic hydrogen theories. Dense hydrogen theories propose that hydrogen's electronic structure can be radically altered, potentially leading to lower energy configurations. Energy released during compression or phase transition could be non-radiative in some contexts. So yes, in this case, extreme pressure can cause a metallic state. So when people wonder, what are the metallic spheres? Look, guys, UFO community, I'm giving you like a layup right here. For my UFO community, my alien heads out there, you wanted some UFO investigation. I haven't seen anybody explain why we're seeing metallic spheres and how a metallic sphere can float around in the sky. The answer is they're not metallic. They are abusing some lower energy state, and they are just giving a metallic appearance. That's what's really happening. And that actually makes perfect sense to me, especially when you realize that the Nazi Bell and the Nazi experiments with anti-gravity were using mercury, liquid mercury as well. And you're like, oh, there's already this like historical precedent for using liquid metal to produce anti-gravity. So there you go. That's what I think is going on with that. And how crazy is it? So this is not the answer. I mean, this could be. So what I'm getting out of this, what I'm learning, what we're learning right now is that I think there's merit to the idea that there might be stabilized configurations below the ground state. And that could be what we're seeing with some of these plasma orbs. They might be actual hydrinos, which is just a stabilized plasma state below the ground state. Maybe that's what they are when they're floating around like that. And maybe in certain conditions, maybe at certain levels below the ground state, they become metallic. They're actually just like metallic, super dense. And the reason why I find so much merit in this argument is that Salvatore Pais in private conversations was talking about Avogadro's number. And the implication was clear. He's talking about condensing all your electrons together so tightly. How much charge would you get? The answer is a shitload. Like, what's the theoretical limit if you packed in all the electrons as tight as they can go? Massive, almost infinite, huge, beyond what we need to make a warp drive. Put it like that. Not infinite, though, so I'll take that part back. Now, what are some of the other last two options on here? Cold fusion is the fourth one. So cold fusion, we already know this is tied to 0-point energy. So two of the things on the list are the same. The first one was something that seemed outdated. Two of the other ones are both just 0-point energy. And then the third one is just basically hydrino again. The dense hydrogen theory is basically just hydrino again. So out of the first four answers, there's really only two different theories that might be the same exact theory. And then the last one is stochastic electrodynamics, which I think stochastic electrodynamics is just the primitive version of extended electrodynamics. So I think extended electrodynamics took stochastic electrodynamics and then just fixed the problems with it. And so it's not, when I looked at that one, it didn't have as many like direct connections. So it does seem, though, that like we found this history of how the science has evolved over the years. And then I asked it, what type of vacuum interactions would cause the ground state of the hydrogen atom to drop? Now, this was another great question because look at the answers. The first one, the Lamb shift. Wow. So what's a vacuum interaction? Lamb shift. Boom. Now, the Lamb shift does not lower the interaction, but it does change it. So it says the Lamb shift does not lower the ground state, so it does not align with the Hydrino claims. However, it does demonstrate that vacuum interactions can perturb the ground state. I love it. Casimir effect, vacuum polarization. And that's basically it. So the mechanisms we already know. Bernard Hayes and Puthoff. I mean, look at all of this. Okay, let's see. And then here was the paper that I told you guys before about reading with the lithium, to have it review that, the lithium, just if you want to see that. And actually, that's it. Okay. So what we basically learned is that negative energy is definitely tied to either 0-point energy or hydrino theory, or they are probably one and the same. Now, what I found from talking to Randell, very, very briefly, of course, in the email correspondence, I don't think that he's inclined to connect himself to 0-point energy or negative energy in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of these people, they kind of avoid the term negative energy. Might be a bit of a misnomer. So I don't think they like that. And it's negative energy is about jumping on the trampoline. And then you move to a situation where you're not pulling down on your trampoline, and it goes back to normal again. And then the question is, can we stabilize a lower energy state? Now, why is this negative energy? This is negative energy because if you go down to a lower energy state, the difference in energy is negative. Does that mean the energy release is magical Harry Potter energy? No. It's still a normal energy release. The real difference in the energy release that makes it magical is that it's non-radiative, which means it's not giving off heat. It's giving off ultraviolet light. And the last thing then for tonight, and I'm just going to Google this or grok this right now in the reply, is what forms of non-radiative energy release even exist? I mean, how many different forms of non-radiative energy release can there actually be? My guess is not a lot. So not only have we just shown right here, the only explanations for lower negative energy states are 0-point energy and hydrino theory. That's basically it. And some other guy I'd never heard of. Crap, I forgot. What was I going to say, guys? I already forgot. I'm just scatterbrained at the moment. Okay. Oh, yeah. What? What other forms of non-radiative energy release exist? Let's see what you got for me, Grok. Vibrational relaxation. Phonons in solids or in liquids. Is this... Phonons is the lattice structure, right? Yeah, the lattice structure. So in a... Wow. Okay. So vibrational energy, internal conversion. What the hell does that mean? Photochemistry, chlorophyll. So, okay, I don't care about biological processes. What else? Intersystem crossing. What the hell does that mean? What are examples? I've never even heard of any of these before. Okay, anything that's real? Any real stuff out there? Resonance energy transfer. Okay. These are all biological systems. What's this thing? Semiconductors. So what do we got? Semiconductors, more semiconductors. Here's the thing about gas. Now this one might be relevant. And then another phonon-assisted tunneling. Spin relaxation as well. And then the last one, low energy nuclear reactions. And there's the Pons and Fleischmann reported excess heat. Wow. So basically all the non-radiative energy releases are all related to some form of cold fusion or 0-point energy. Like all of them in there are some basis of that. Even the spin relaxation stuff. The other non-radiative energy releases, like I don't care about biology. I'm not talking about plants and stuff like that. I'm talking about stuff that we can make in a lab. So what did we learn? I think that we learned that it's extremely likely. I mean, well, we already know that it's double layer plasma orbs, non-equilibrium, non-thermal release of energy that we're seeing. But somebody has figured out on this planet negative energy. The most likely activation mechanism is a massive, dense electromagnetic flux. Currently a little bit beyond what the Large Hadron Collider is producing. I don't think the Large Hadron Collider is quite there yet. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Let's do a couple last donos, and then let's call it quits for tonight, guys. And then one more thank you for that huge donation from Gabriel. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Shout out as well to Dr. Yu from NASA. His family has been watching and enjoying. Thank you guys for being on the for watching the streams, guys. Okay, when the plane teleports is equivalent to an electron jumping through the insulator in the Josephson junction. The wall is the... Oh, we already got that one. Okay. Jay Varga. What do you think of the recent Reddit post alleging the AWACS pilot voice logs watching the orbs in action? Yeah, that's probably all fake. I think the Reddit post that was like the AI thing, that was just based on my research mostly. And then they added some LARP in there, I think. If it was going to leak, it's not going to leak on Reddit, guys. They're not going to leak on Reddit. Odin, I believe the Venama were found during World War II, which has led to what we have today. Yeah, I think that a lot of people on the history side think that this goes back to World War II or even before, potentially. Is John Hutchinson still alive? I can't find his bio on the internet. He used to talk to Ken Shoulders. Is there a chance you can have him on? Yeah, maybe. I think, though, too, that a lot of that, like, that was, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, those guys were doing that. The technology has just moved beyond that. Like, a lot of people are living in the past on some of that. We're not sitting here with, like, giant equipment trying to make bowling balls float anymore. We're way beyond that. We're now at the point where we're making microchips. Like we're at free energy microchip time. So what am I trying to do? Not just get government to admit MH370, trying to get us caught up. It's our power. The science and technology is our technology. It's for the world to have. It's not for defense contractors, the United States government. It's for the world to have that technology. And we're going to steal that technology back by learning the science. And we're not going to steal it back by going back to some shit they had 50 years ago. We're going to steal it back by going to the stuff they have right now. The stuff they're working on right now. Or maybe they were working on those microchips 20 years ago, but you get the point. So thank you guys for watching in the live stream. I hope you enjoyed. Check out Hard Truths with Randell Carlson, the gray bearded man. That should be dropping tomorrow evening. Trailer should be out later tonight or tomorrow morning. Check that out. First thing I ask him is about the letter to Ashton Forbes. We talk about plasma. We talk about 0-point energy. We talk about ancient civilizations. It's a good conversation. Thank you, MH270X. Have a good night. Love y'all. Later.
Infrared eyes, scanning the black, tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As fears, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. Controls in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alert